captivating, that vision that he laid out. And it's interesting that many people, they have that kind of pivotal moment where, from something they heard, something a mentor said or whatever, that light goes off and there they are.
Yeah.
But I'm curious because you said you started drawing, in London. So that was, and incidentally, I don't want this to go by too quick either. You solved your problems by what? Asking a question.
Yes.
So I want to learn more about the details of how you solved it. But do you have a premise that the quality of our outcomes is based upon the quality of the questions we can ask?
Absolutely. I really believe that every day our life is determined by the quality of our questions. And I mean, the word quest in questions is about that idea that whatever quest we're on today is the size of the question. I mean, like, if my biggest question today is what I'm going to have for lunch, right? That's as big as today's going to get, right? But if I'm thinking about what today I'm doing to solve a much bigger problem, whether it's something that's going to be an impact to my family or something of impact to a much wider community, well, then of course I'm going to be in a much, much bigger quest.
Yeah.
So I think that's so important. I also think, this point about most people getting stuck on problems as opposed to converting those problems into questions and realizing the source of their biggest problem is also the source of the biggest profit.
Wow.
And there's so many examples of entrepreneurs that have said, well, I've got this problem. Others probably have this as well. What's the way I can figure out the solution to this? And then, of course, they're solving it not just for themselves, but for everyone else as well.
Well, we definitely have to have a whole conversation around that. But I'm sorry that I'm so curious about this. But what did you do to make this money? So you're in college. You said, I'm going to draw for tourists.
Right.
So what did you draw?
So, yeah, okay. So, and by the way, this idea of consciousness shifting, which comes from the quality of questions as well, that was my experience in my very first week, right? So what happened was I thought, oh gosh, I've got to figure out a way that I can get a drawing done every day, have people want to buy it as well. I don't want to be able to just, draw and then just look for someone to buy that drawing. I want to figure out a way to print it. So I decided I was going to do them in black and white of different sites of Cambridge. I was going to basically sit down on the spot, be drawing during the day so people could see me as they walk by.
And freehand, like an artist?
Yeah, freehand.
Wow.
Yeah, so I did drawings of famous things like King's College Chapel and so on. I do it in black and white so I could photocopy it. I would make it the right size so that I could actually get freezer bags from Sainsbury's and make it look really professional and put it in there. I got a big sign up, which basically was a photocopy, which cost 5 pence, but it was a nice photocopy on nice paper. And where I said, one print for, £2, 3 prints for £5. And so I would have that board and then I'd start drawing. And what happened in the first day that I did this was I made about £50, which is about, let's say $100 at that time. Which was a lot because most of my friends were making maybe 200 a week in London. And I thought, wow, look, I've just gone and made 100. And of course, it's all cash. So I'm bringing this cash back. And that could have continued all week. But what was very interesting was because I had already realized the power of questions, at the end of the first day, I asked myself, what would it take for me to make double as much tomorrow? And of course, if you're in a job, you can't do that. You can't just determine your pay. But for an entrepreneur, you can do that. So I said, what would it take? And what I decided to do was, because I didn't know what the answer was I'll start testing things, right? So the next day, I thought, well, maybe it's about being in the right place, right time. If I was in a busier place, different time of day. So I sat in a different place and I started counting every half hour how many people were buying and how much they were buying. And I found that there was a pattern. And the pattern had nothing to do with the time of day. It had to do with how many people were stopping. If a lot of people stopped, then a lot of people bought, right? And so I started realizing that my real value wasn't in just my drawing. It was in my ability to slow people down. And so what I started doing is realizing if I asked people for the time, they'd stop and then others would stop. I then soon realized that actually if I wasn't looking for a person, but a group, like a family, and instead of asking for the time, I'd ask the child, hey, would you like to sit and watch me draw? And then of course they'd say, hey, mom, dad, can I sit? They'd sit, we'd have a conversation, everyone would stop. And then as a result, I'd end up making, double, triple as much money during that time. Wow. I ended the second day and I'd actually made at that point over 100 pounds. So I doubled my money. And then I got to the end of the second day and I said, I'm going to ask the same question again. How would I double my money the third day? And the third day started. I went rowing in the morning. It was now about 10 o'clock, which is normally when I start the drawing. I found another spot. Most of the tourists don't show up until lunchtime. But as I was in this new spot, an American tourist came along. And he was with his wife. And he was just walking along. And he saw me starting to draw this drawing. And so he said to me, hey, how much does it cost for that drawing? And I said, oh, what, the one I'm drawing now? And he goes, yeah. And I said, no, I'm not selling this. This is my original, right? And he goes, oh, no, but it's beautiful. You've already started it. It looks fantastic. I want to buy that. And I said, I'm not selling this, right? Because you don't understand. I actually print this and then everyone, gets to actually have a piece of it. And it's worth a lot more than if I just sold it right now. And he says, oh, come on, everything's got a price. So that made me think, well, maybe everything does have a price. And if it has a price, what's the price? Because he's actually saying he wants to buy it. And this happens a lot, I realize. People who want something from someone and you're not willing to put a price on it, and then you're wondering why you don't have the money. So I decided to put a price on it. I said, well, I know that this drawing today, or this day itself, will pay me £100, because I knew that happened yesterday. So if he actually pays me £100 now, I won't have to do anything else for the rest of the day. So I said £100. And he said, okay, done, but I want you to sign, let's start Roger Hamilton's unfinished original on it. So someone now has this picture somewhere in the world, right? Because he actually did that. I signed it. He bought it for £100, and then I got the £100. I was like, wow, that was quick. It's not even like 11 o'clock. I've made the money for the day. And then I stopped, and then I thought, well, what am I going to do today? Because I've got the rest of the day free, and I don't actually feel like I want to just go and just relax. I actually want to do this drawing. Mm-hmm. And so I just got another piece of paper out, and I started the same drawing again. And as it turned out, that same drawing made me another £100 during the day. And so I made £200. And it was that whole thought process of realizing that the moment you actually put out to the world the question, you don't even have to be the one that comes up with the answer. The moment you actually are out there, and we see this all the time today, you see Richard Branson saying we're going to take people to space, right? You got Elon Musk saying, we're going to figure out a way to actually get off fossil fuels. And they don't have the answer, but just the fact that they're sitting in the question, everything else shows up as well. So that idea of consciousness lifting through the quality of your question, you can double, triple, quadruple your income. And my whole life has been about that ever since, and helping other people to do the same thing.